Hi, welcome back to Sarah Lilly Makes. My name is Sarah and this is my little journaling space here on YouTube where I like to document and share all the things I have been making. Today's episode is a bit overdue because it's been about 9 months or so since I last uploaded and shared an episode. And that was my mix of 2024. I considered whether or not to actually record and upload an episode today because it's so close to the end of the year and I thought maybe I should just wait and then just do one for 2025, but I'm here. I think I am in a space where I can record and share what I've been working on for this year, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. So if you're a returning viewer, thank you for sticking around and thank you for continuing to follow my channel and for watching my episodes. If you are new, welcome. Thank you for joining me on this journey and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Today's episode is going to be pretty much all the things I've made in 2025 so far, which is why I considered not making it today because it's so close to the end of the year, like I said. And I was like, yeah, is it worthwhile to do it now when it's so close to the end of the year? But I do want to make a couple winter things, so we'll get to that another time. But, yeah, this is a bit overdue. It's been 9 months or so. We are in October. Today's October 5th. And I have some things to share. I have a few finished objects, and I have some whips, and some plans, but I don't think I'll get to plans really today. Today might be a bit long since, like I said, I have a few things to share. I'm gonna look at my Ravelry notes because some of these have been finished for quite a while and I don't remember many of the details, but okay. If you're new, I am a fan of Sandnes Garn. You're gonna find that many of my patterns and yarn choices are Sandnes Garn. I just really enjoy their patterns, I enjoy their designs, I enjoy their aesthetic, I enjoy knitting with their yarns, and I really love Sandnes Garn's patterns, and I tend to make what I love and stick to what I love. So about 80% of today's knits are Sandnes Garn. Yeah. And I think all of my whips are also Sandnes Garn. The first one, I am actually not wearing a knit because I figured I could just try it on. So I don't have to spend a whole lot of time editing and adding extra footage and whatnot. So I hope that's okay. But the first thing I have is the Cornelia cardigan. And this is from Sandnes Garn's 2409 pattern collection, and this is an all over cable and lace cardigan, and I knitted this with the recommended yarn Alpakka wool and Alpakka Folgetrad, although I think they might have recommended Tynn Mohair as the thin yarn to hold with this. I'll just try it on real fast. Okay, so this is an all over, like I said, cable and lace texture knit garment, and I really loved knitting this. I cast this on in October of 2024 and I finished this at the end of January. Let's see, let me go back a tiny bit. Okay, this reaches a good length for me, which is right at my hips. and I knit according to the pattern directions. I followed it identically. I used the yarn, like I said, that was recommended, and the needle size, which is 4.5 millimeter needles. Yes, 4.5 millimeter needles, and I'm really happy with this. I have no complaints with this knit. Love the color. I knitted the color that was the sample color, which is scarlet red. And the only thing really, I could have made my buttons a little bit more evenly spaced. Like this, these two are very close together compared to the others, which are more evenly spaced out. But really that's some minute detail that doesn't really take away from the overall knit itself. But this is a really great pattern. I would recommend this even for beginners. I feel like over time Sandnes Garn has improved their instructions for where I feel like even beginners can attempt some of their more complicated patterns, so to speak. But I feel like all the charts were included that was necessary, and all the information necessary was included. And I feel like this was a really enjoyable knit, and I would definitely knit this again if, you know, I had the time and if I had the yarn. But yeah, I really, really loved this knit. This is the 2409-08 Cornelia cardigan from Sandnes Garn. I guess I'll keep it on because the next thing I have is not for me. But the next knit I have is a pattern knit for my son, a sweater for my younger son who turned 13 at the beginning of the year. And this is the big Smiley sweater. So again, another pattern from Sandnes Garn. This is 2303-10, which is the big Smiley sweater from Sandnes Garn. It's knitted with Kos, and there's like a smiley face that you duplicate stitch on at the end or embroider at the end. And I didn't do that. I just couldn't be bothered. I just really wanted a basic, simple knit for him. This is a drop shoulder construction. This is also a drop shoulder construction. I forgot to mention that, sorry. This is a drop shoulder construction knitted with Kos, which is an alpaca wool nylon blend from Sandnes Garn. It's a blown yarn, and I really love knitting with Kos. I have a few other knits in here that's Kos, but it's a very warm, very cozy knit, and he loves this. My son loves, he loves getting hand knits, and he loves when I make him hand knits, and it's actually really sweet. He's a teenager. He's a teenage boy. And he has his moments, but he really loves getting hand knits, and he loves wearing them. And it really just, it warms my heart because he actually enjoys getting his mom's hand knits, and he enjoys wearing them. He's at rehearsal today, and I told him to pack a sweater because it'll be chilly in the evening, and he packed a hand knit sweater, which is really cute. But anyway, I digress. This is, again, a pattern from Sandnes Garn. I knitted this, the size 12, because I think that's what this pattern went up to, the largest size, and I just added length in the arms and in the body. But the other measurements were spot on for his measurements. They have started adding size 14 to their junior patterns, which I really am happy about. It's kind of a silly little detail, but I'm happy about it because I make size 13, 14 garments for my kid. And I appreciate that they have increased that size for children. So yeah, that's just a bonus for me. So you knit the back flat, and then it's a drop shoulder. It's very simple, very straightforward. You can see the seam here where I pick up stitches for the front, and then you join at the neck, doing increases here. You knit the body down, you join at the underarms, you knit the body down. Then you pick up stitches for the sleeves, and you go back and you add the collar. And I did Italian bind-offs and all the bind-offs, which actually no, I didn't do it on the sleeve, did I? I didn't. But I did it on the neck and the body. because I do really prefer a nice clean edge. I don't know why I didn't do it on the sleeves. Anyway, I started this on January 1st and I finished this on January 31st, which his birthday is January 1st, so it was a little bit belated. And that is it for the big Smiley sweater, which was a belated birthday sweater from my son. And I will move on to my next finished object. And that is a sweater for me. That's the Wendy sweater, which is another Sandnes Garn pattern. Okay, let me put this on really fast. All right, no, this pattern was released this year. Okay, I don't really like this very much. It is a saddle shoulder where you're doing, it's really hard to see, huh? You're doing a set of increases every row on the right side and the wrong side, on the front and the back here. And for some reason, I think I did it correctly, but I feel like, thank you. I feel like I did something wrong, but I know I didn't. I followed the pattern to a T. And maybe this is how it is supposed to look, because it does look similar on the model, on the samples, but there's just way too much positive ease in like the whole bust, chest, yoke area. There's just way too much positive ease, and I feel like it just makes my shoulders look larger than they actually are. And not that that's a bad thing or anything, but I just feel like for myself, I don't really like the look of it. I have a visitor, sorry. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this knit. I do, however, really love the yarn. I knitted this with pure Gynt and Tynn silk mohair. And I'm pretty sure the color that I used is the lemon icing. So it's a very, very, very pale yellow color. It's almost like cream, but it's a very soft yellow. It's really hard to pick up because it's so light. But I love the yarn, and I almost want to frog this and repurpose the yarn because I'm not getting anywhere out of this. And as much as I really love the yarn, I feel like I need to put it into something that will get more wear. And yeah, so I'm having mixed feelings about this sweater, which is, like I said, the Wendy sweater from Sandnes Garn, and I'm not 100% sure on how I feel. I haven't really worn it. I haven't worn this very much, and by the time I finished it March 24, it's kind of already warm, and I can't really wear like a rustic pure Gynt sweater. So there's just so much. This is where my body is, and that is how much room on one side and then on the other. So I'm torn about how I feel about this. I feel like I really love the yarn, and I would definitely get use out of it in something that I would wear more, but I don't know. This is the Wendy sweater. This is the chunky version. Sorry, I should have clarified. This came out this year, so it's 25.0 something. I will make sure I include all the descriptions below. If you're looking for any more details on anything I talk about today, it'll be all down below. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. As it cools down, I might give it a go and wear it a couple times and see how I feel. But overall, I mean, it's at a good length for me, where I like my sweaters at my hips or around my hips right there. And yeah, what do you think? I don't know. I don't know what I think about this. I like a good saddle shoulder construction, but I feel like this just isn't. I don't know. Moving on, because I feel like I've rambled enough on this one. I will talk about another Sandnes Garn knit. Let me take this off. Another Sandnes Garn pattern, of course. Who are we kidding? This is one of their spring. This was one of their spring patterns, is it? Yeah, spring. And I loved this. Now going from the other one to this one, this is absolute love. This is an elbow length sleeve cardigan. I've worn this over dresses and like t-shirts and tank tops this spring and summer, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. So let me button this up real fast. I used buttons that are a little too large, so it's a bit of a pain to actually like button it up. Okay, this is the Leah cardigan from Sandnes Garn's, let's see, their 2502 DIY pattern collection. So this is knitted on, oh, I didn't give the needles for the last two, did I? Well, anyway, this is knitted on 3.5mm needles, and this is knitted with double Sunday. And the color I used is, I'm pretty sure it's the Petiteknit mint color. Again, it will be below or in my Ravelry. You're welcome to check it out. But I really love the construction of this. It is the European shoulder construction, I'm pretty sure, where you are doing short rows and increases along the back, and then you're picking up for the sleeves, and then you're knitting the body down. It's knitted flat, it's a cardigan. And then you knit the sleeves, then you pick up for the button band, which is a 2x2 ribbed button band, and then you do the neck, and that's it. And then I added some buttons that I found at Michael's, I'm pretty sure, to this. I really love this. Like I said, I wore this with dresses a lot this past spring. It's double Sunday, so it is 100% merino wool, and it is knitted on 3.5mm needles, which kind of was a recurrent theme for me this year. But anyway, I really love the knitted fabric of this with the DK weight yarn and the 3.5mm needles. It's a very dense, but what's the best way to describe it? It's dense, yes, because it is a thicker fabric. But it's really hard to like see the knit stitches because of how dense it is. And I just like that. I just like the look of that. I feel like it's, anyway, I can't think of the word I'm trying to say. But this was a fun knit. For me, Again, I knitted it according to the directions and the yarn and pattern, needle recommendation. And I finished this in April of 2025. So yeah, this is fun. This was a fun knit. And I would make this again. I feel like I say that about a few patterns already, but I would make this again if I had the chance to, because it's very versatile, and I could see myself having like more colors of this. Like the mint was so perfect for spring, and yeah, I just really liked it a lot. And you might notice that I put my buttons very close to the pickup edge because I feel like it gives a much neater, when it's closed. When it's open it looks but when it's buttoned up it looks very polished, and it looks and I say this positively, it looks like kind of store-bought, but when it's unbuttoned, not so much. So I kind of tend to keep it buttoned up. I like it that way anyways. Alright, so moving on to my next finished object, and I am starting to get into summer knits here now. I will take this off. Alright, my next knit is another Sandnes Garn pattern, and that is the Cleo sweater. So before I actually try this on, I'm gonna share some up close details because I really loved the detail of this in the pattern. So I accidentally had this on a hanger for a little too long, and it left a pucker right here, so don't hang your knits. That was just a fault of my own. But when you are picking up, when you're knitting the shoulder seams, they instruct it where you are meeting the edges, and it just creates this gorgeous even V where both stripes meet for the front and the back. This is the shoulder seam. And I just really loved that detail. I think I did it better on this side than on the other side. Actually, no, I did it better on the other side, didn't I? That side's not the good one. This is the good one. Anyway, moving on. Let me put this on. This is definitely one of my most worn summer knits this year. I will just go back a tiny bit so you can see. This is the Cleo sweater, which is, like I said, from Sandnes Garn. And I've knitted medium or medium large for all of my patterns. Before I go any further, I just wanted to clarify that. So this is a medium or medium large, whichever one was in the pattern. I think medium. And this is knitted with Tynn, nope, this is knitted with Lena in the colorways Spicy Orange and Kitt. So I'm pretty sure this is also their sample color that they used for their for the patterns themselves. And I just really love this. I loved everything about this. I feel like this definitely got a lot of wear, minus, you know, me hanging it up for a bit and forgetting about it. But it was probably one of my most worn summer knits. And I just really, I just loved wearing this. I really loved knitting this. So, like I said, the shoulder details was a very fun construction for me. I vaguely remember how to do it because it's been like 4 or 5 months now, and I apologize. 5 months about since I finished this, and I might have some notes on, yeah, I do have a little bit of notes on my Ravelry if you're interested in checking it out. But this was almost a meditative knit because of the stripes, and they're very thin stripes, so I felt like I was moving along a lot faster than I really was knitting because it's like when you're done with one, you're moving on to the next one. And they're finished with folded hems. And I just love all the little extra details, like the collar. There's a folded collar, but you change to the main color halfway through, and it's like a 2-stripe round for the neck. It's just a lovely knit. I really loved this. And again, this was knitted on 3.5mm needles, and it didn't take too long because I felt like I just wanted to finish it because I kept just knitting on it. But yeah, it took me a month to knit this, actually, 4 weeks or so. And again, 3.5mm needles. That's probably my nemesis right now because I've done a lot of projects with 3.5 and I actually have a project on my needles right now that's 3.5mm needles, and it's going. But yeah, anyway, moving on. This is the folded hem is also on the inside of the sleeves. And I don't know if you could see, but I carried my yarn on the inside, and it just looks like a candy cane. It's just a little extra added piece of like joy, I guess. But it just makes the garment just feel a little bit extra special to me. And yeah, what else can I say about this? I said it's knitted with Lena, which is their summer yarn, their plant-based yarn, cotton, linen, viscose. And I use Lena a lot in the warmer months because I really love Lena. I find it to be a very easy yarn to use and care for, and I really love it. So I've worn this quite a bit, and I've washed it a few times, and it's still very drapey. I mean, obviously not as super drapey as something knit with 4 or 4.5 millimeter needles, but it's a very nice weight. And I want to keep this on because I love it so much, but I'm going to take it off and put on my another knit. Alright, taking this off now. Alright, that's it for the Cleo sweater. And next is the Millie top, which is another Sandnes Garn pattern. Alright, let me put it on. I have some ends still not cut, but it's all been woven in, and yes, baby. Okay, so thanks. Okay, so I have a t-shirt underneath, so it's gonna, a white t-shirt too, so it's gonna not be as, you can kind of see through the fabric a little bit, yeah. This is the Millie top, which is from Sandnes Garn's 2504, as was the Cleo sweater I just shared. This is a second version of their Millie design. I have knitted the Millie sweater last summer, and that was a long sleeve version. That was 3.5 millimeter needles with Lena. This one was 3 millimeters with Tynn Lena. And they also have a dress version of this, which is on my list to make, but I did not get around to it this year, so maybe next year. But this is a t-shirt. It's a drop shoulder. You work the back, you work down, you pick up the front, you add a bunch of stitches, cast on a bunch of stitches here to create this roundish neck. Then you knit down, you join under the arms, and then you knit the body down. Then you pick up the sleeves. It's finished with a just a bind off in round, and it kind of gives a little bit of a roll. But for the neck, you come back and you pick up for an I-cord, and it's very hard to see, maybe, but it's like a 2-stitch I-cord, which I have grown to really love, and I haven't, since doing the 2-stitch I-cord, I've done that on all garments that require an I-cord. Another garment I'll talk about in a bit. But it's a very thin, it almost looks like it's just the bind off and like not even an I-cord. But I like it. I like it because it does give a little bit of structure and stability to the neck without looking, without looking bulky. And I really liked it. This color, I actually love this color. I don't know if it's the best color for me, but I like it a lot. I like using all the colors. And I use this color again in another knit that you'll see soon. But yeah, I feel like I really like this. It's such a basic, straightforward, very easy construction, very easy to knit. Very mindless, mostly mindless, because it's you're just knitting rectangles and then joining in the round. But yeah, I definitely want to knit this again. I do want to knit the dress, but we'll see. We'll see. I have not had much luck with knitting dresses. If you saw my last 2024 makes, yeah, I haven't had very much luck knitting dresses. Knitted dresses, I feel like on me don't lay very well. I don't know what it is, but I still want to knit it because why not? Yeah. All right, moving on to the next pattern, the next knit. Next thing I have is not Sandnes Garn, but a Petiteknit pattern. And I am not going to try this on because it does not fit me very well. So I have actually given this to my older daughter, and this fits her great. But this is the wave tee. I knitted it according to the directions, the pattern, the yarn, and the needles. I used Petiteknit from Sandnes Garn with the recommended needle size of 5mm needles, I think. Anyway, this is a lovely garment, and I would make it again, and I would size up. Because I feel like this was too snug on my body. I feel like this is meant to have like very little ease, and I just didn't like the amount of ease on it on me. So I just couldn't really wear this. But it is a lovely garment. It's a very quick knit. This is knitted with Aran weight yarn on 5mm needles. Did I say that? Yes. So it goes by very, very quickly, and there is minimal finishing. Like, you just do the raw cast on edge, that's the neck, and then you bind off on the sleeves. Or at least I did. I don't remember if the pattern suggests ribbing or something. Either way, I just bound off in pattern, and yeah, so this is my daughter's now. This is no longer mine because it doesn't fit me. And I will make it again maybe next year because it is it's a fun knit, and it's versatile, and it's very easy to wear if it fits. All right, moving on to my next summer knit was the Vega tee. So I've been in all kinds of color moods this year. I was in the reds, and then now I'm in the greens and blues, and then the browns, and then the pinks. But right now I'm in my green era, so let's put this on. This is the Vega tee from Lynette, or Lene Home Samso. And I love her summer designs. I love Lynette's summer knits, summer patterns. I've knitted so many of them, and I will keep knitting them because they're just such great designs for summer and spring. But this is the, what did I say this was? The Vega tee? Vega tee, yes. And I knitted this with Lena from Sandnes Garn in the colorway 8236. Or Kelly Green, I think, is the name of the yarn. But it's this was a fun knit. This was a fun tee. This was a very quick knit because it is knitted on 4mm needles and DK / worsted weight yarn, which is Lena. And so it's a very basic construction. It is not basic, actually, I take that back. It is like a contiguous construction where you're knitting the sleeves and the body at the same time. You start knitting the sleeves and the body at the same time. And so it has a really nice fit. I love the fit of the sleeves. It's almost like a little puff without being football player shoulders. And then you do the bind off in the round. You do decrease a needle size when you get to the end of the sleeves. You can barely tell, but from like here I changed my needle size, and the same on the body hem. But then the neck, you come back, you pick up with a smaller needle size, and you knit up, and then you have the rolled hem at the neck, which I feel like is such a cute, fun, summery detail that I really like for like my summer knits. I prefer rolled edges and those kinds of finishing, like it's more casual, it's more laid back. I feel like it suits summer knits so much, and I just really appreciate it. And it's easy to do, and it's just, you just bind off. But yeah, that's it about for this Vega tee. I like this green a lot. I feel like it's very vibrant and it's very bright. And it's statement because it's not like, I don't know, it's very vibrant and like you could see it from a mile away, but it's pretty. I like it a lot. Okay, moving on to the next thing that I finished. I have 2 more summer knits, so let me take this off. And my next summer knit is another petite knit pattern. Wait, did I have a petite? Yes, I did. I forgot. This is the IVT. Okay, let's put this on. Okay, I didn't put a lot of details on my Ravelry about this, but I have mixed feelings about this. So the IVT is one of Petiteknit's newer lines or series of designs. She's come out with the IVT, the IV tank, the IV blouse, the IV sweater. Yeah. At first glance, I really like this. I really like the very, you know, casual, like I said, cast on, the cuffs on the ends. I think I just did it in rolled, just, not rolled. I just bound off and it kind of just rolls on its own. I don't know if it's the yarn or the pattern, but I have mixed feelings about this. Alright, let me go back a little. It actually made it a little longer than I would have intended. But it comes below my hips, actually. Almost like across my butt. So it's a little long, and that could be what's like making me feel a little bit unsure about this. Or it could be the yarn. I don't know how I feel about the yarn. This yarn is Woolberries Linen Okay, I don't remember what it is, but I'll put it, oh, let me, I had one more skein of this because I thought I needed 3. I only needed 2, so I have one whole skein left. This is Berry Linen. The colorway is Spring in NYC. And it is 50% alpaca, 25% linen, 25% silk. I really want to like this yarn because I feel like it's all the things I love. I love linen, I love alpaca, I love silk, but I don't know what it is. I just don't know what it is about it. I don't know if it's the drape on this is not as drapey as I would like compared to like Tynn, for instance, which is very drapey to me. Or I don't know if it's the fit. There is some positive ease, so it's not like super snug. And I like my sleeves a little bit wider. I feel like it just, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the sleeves that I don't like on this. So I am having mixed feelings about this. I am going to keep it. I'm going to try it. I can still wear it a few more times this year, for sure, but I don't know if it's the color. I don't know. I don't know what it is about this. Yeah, so I am, like I said, mixed feelings. Not sure what it is about this that I don't 100% love. But it could be a bunch of factors. It could be the length. The sleeves, I think, is one of them. I do like the yarn, and I do like the fabric. It's just not as drapey as I would like for like my summer knits to be. But there's just something that's not clicking for me with this one. Anyway, that is the IVT. This is knitted with 3mm needles, and I used Woolberries Berry Linen for this project. Okay, nothing much to say about this, so I'll move on to my next and last summer knit. Okay, my last summer knit for myself is the Cumulus Tee. Now I love this one. This is one thing that I love. This was probably my second favorite summer knit or knit this year. So the Cumulus Tee needs no introduction. It is a petite knit pattern. Let me just throw it over my t-shirt real fast. Whew, I'm kind of out of breath. And see, now these sleeves are, they're not as snug, but I like these a lot more than the other one. They're almost the same width, but I like these a lot more. I don't know what it is. I can't figure it out. Okay, so I used Sisley's Silk Merino, 50% merino, 50% silk, and I'm pretty sure the color name was Hella's Gala Dress. So it's this gorgeous bright hot pink. It's not showing up very well on camera, but I will try. So I made it slightly cropped because I used 2 whole skeins, and I used up the entirety of the 2 whole skeins that I had. So it's literally right above my hip. My hip's here. Wait, my hip's here. So it's right above my hip. And I am actually content with this length because I can wear it with high-waisted things, high-waisted skirts, and it's fine. Nothing too complicated about that. And I just love the fit of this. Like, this is my second, I'm pretty sure it's my second Cumulus tee. So when I bound off, I will go back again a little bit more. I bound off very, very loosely, and I did not bind off with the amount of decreases that the pattern calls for. I think you decrease every 4 or 5 stitches. You do a decrease when you're doing the I-cord, and I did like every 20 because I know I wanted it to be boxy and I wanted it to be wide, and I did not want it to cinch in. And I did a 2-stitch I-cord like I did with the Millie tee. And I did a 2-stitch I-cord here, and I did a 2-stitch I-cord on the sleeves as well. So it's kind of hard to see, but yeah. It's narrow, and I think it doesn't distract from the garment, if that makes sense. I feel like an I-cord sometimes can look a little bulky and it be the focus of the garment, but I feel like a 2-stitch I-cord is a good medium for me, and I really like it. Nothing else much to say about this. It is a raglan construction. It's a very popular pattern in summer for a lot of knitters, and it's a great pattern for summer. I actually knitted this very quickly, shocker for me, because I took my time with my knits this year. I think I'll keep this on until my next project for myself. And moving on to another Sandnes Garn pattern. And this is the Caspian Slipover Junior by Sandnes Garn. And this is an all-over cable and texture knit vest or slipover for my son, who I made a birthday sweater for at the start of the year. And I love this. This is the same green as the Millie, and this is in double Sunday. It's Matcha. I'm pretty sure that's the colorway name Matcha. It's the Petiteknit green. Matcha green. Yeah, that's what it is. There are quite a few errors in my knit. Not in the pattern. The pattern was perfectly fine. But I made a few errors in my moss stitch. And I can't see where it is right now. But they were there. Oh yeah, I could see it. If you look, you'll see where I did like 3, you might be able to tell where I did a few times, actually 3 rows of double moss and not 2. But anyway, I don't care. He doesn't care. And he loves this, and I do too. So that's really all that matters. So this is a top-down drop shoulder construction. You start with the back panel, and you do increases till the armhole here. Then you pick up one shoulder, then you start doing the cables. Then you pick up the other shoulder, start doing the cables, and work down. And then you join, and then you work down, knitting the cables and texture. And then you join at the underarm, and you knit the whole way down. And you pick up the neck, you pick up the ribbing for the armholes. And really, I did a folded collar for this. I think it called for a folded collar. But I like a folded collar on like my merino wool projects. some projects I like folded collar on. But for him, I did do the folded collar for this because I felt like I just like the finish. I like the finish on the neck with the folded collar. It's cute. It's crisp. It's clean. And then you do the 2x2 rib. And then you change the yarn. You change to 1x1 rib and then do the Italian bind off. And I like doing that a lot. And I find it meditative and I just like it. So that's the Caspian Slipover Junior by Sandnes Garn, and it is from their 2501 Meek Till Barn collection, which is their children's collection at the start of the year. Nothing else to say about that. There is a sweater pattern with that same design for sweaters, and it's in the back of my mind to make one for my daughter, but I'll get to that when I get to that. Yeah, that's a future plan. I have 3 more finished objects to share, and I am almost at an hour, so we'll move on very quickly. The next thing that I have, I started at the beginning of the year. I started this in February. And yes, it is a Sandnes Garn design. Let me just take this off. And this is the Harper cardigan from Sandnes Garn, and I really loved this. I have some qualms about this pattern that I'll get to, because I got some things to say. But this is an all-over texture cable knit with Kos and ballerina chunky mohair. It is knitted on 5mm needles and 3.5mm needles. I'll get to that. Okay, I'm gonna try it on. It's a little hot, so I don't know if I'll wear this for very long. Okay, so I had no intention of taking forever to make this. I really wanted to finish this like right away, but I didn't get to because, and I'll talk about it in a second. So you start at the back, knitting the back panel with moss stitch, and then you do the increases for the shoulder shaping here, and then you start knitting down till the armholes. Then you put that on hold. Then you start with the one shoulder, then the other shoulder. You do the cable design. There are 2 cables with moss stitch cable, some purl, a purl section here, and then a giant squishy cable. And then you're doing increases here, and then joining in the underarms and knitting down. This part is done on 5mm needles, and then you pick up for the sleeves and you do this half fisherman's rib, I'm pretty sure, with 3.5mm needles with Kos and ballerina chunky mohair. That was not my favorite. I loved doing the chunky parts with the big needles, and then when it got to the sleeves, I couldn't. It was like really putting a lot of strain on my wrists and like the inside of my hands right here on both hands. So I kept putting it down, and it took forever. I finished it. It's September 12th. So February 3rd to September 12th. That's actually not that bad for me, because I still have some whips in my basket from like 5 years ago. But we'll not talk about that right now. Anyway, overall, I love this. I could have knitted the sleeves a tiny bit longer, but I was done. And I am happy with the length. I feel like it's a great fall garment. It's a great color, it's a great knit, it's squishy, it's thick, it's cozy, and just all the different textures going on is just so nice. except that you do very bulky weight yarn on very thin needles, and it just wasn't, I'm not a fan. Now in hindsight, had I realized that that was going to strain my hands the way it did, I could have gone up to like a 4, even a 4.5 millimeter needles. And it would have, I feel like I would have been okay with the gauge on that. And I would have gotten a little bit more length too. Like I like my sweater lengths to be like here without me having to actually tug on it. And I am having to tug on it for it to get there, but no matter, that's okay. But yeah, overall, I'd rate this probably like a 7 out of 10. And I feel like they did a good job with including all the necessary information. I went on about the artisan cardigan last year, and my feedback on that, if you've been following me for a while, I did not appreciate that. I felt like they could have added another chart in there, but this is fine. I feel like all the information for this one was adequate, and this is fine. I am getting hot in this, so I'll take it off in a second. But I did want to talk about the buttons. So I just love these little wooden toggle buttons. I actually purchased these buttons like 3 years ago to make a cardigan for my okay, I apologize. Yeah, so I got these buttons a couple of years ago, and I purchased them to make a chunky cardigan for my daughter, but I never got around to using them. And I was struggling to find matching or just like something that suited this, and then I saw these and I was like, oh, these actually go really well, and I sewed them on. It took forever to put the buttons on because I couldn't find what I really wanted for this. But anyway, this is done. Only took almost a year, but it's done, and I am actually happy with it now. And I do like the squishiness of this fisherman's rib on the smaller needles. I feel like, yes, had I done it with larger needles, it wouldn't have been as, you know, like, it wouldn't have given this texture and squish factor. So yeah, I understand the reasoning and I get it, but I feel like it's still hard, and I'm allowed to, you know, feel a little bit disappointed with the pattern too. Not that I was disappointed in this pattern. I feel like it's a very good pattern, very well written, and yeah, that's my only qualm about this. And moving on to my second to last finished object is a sweater for my daughter. Oh, and don't get me started on when I started this. I started this in February of 2024. So I don't know why it took me a year and a half to finish this, but it's done. And it actually fits her perfectly right now. Had I finished it a year and a half ago, it would have grown with her. I made it a size 6, which is what I cast on when I started it a year and a half ago. She just turned 6. So this fits her perfectly. The arms are a little long, which she has long arms, so I always make longer arms anyway. And yes, so the arms are a little long. She has long arms. So, but the body itself is just at the perfect length where she can't grow anymore. Like if she grows anymore, it's not gonna fit. And I'm banning her from growing. So that's the Bonnie Cable sweater. Did I mention the pattern? It is a pattern from Sandnes Garn. It was released last year. It was released last winter, and it was one of their children's patterns from their children's Mictal Barn, I think. Let me double check. Yes, 2401 Mictal Barn. It's a gorgeous design. I've knitted myself the adult version of this in double Sunday and Tynn silk mohair. I used Sunday and Alpakka Folgetrad, and this is knitted on 4mm needles and 3 Well, I use 3.5 for the... I just crossed an hour, but I have to edit some of the things out, so we'll see how long this actually ends up being. That's it for the Bonnie Cable sweater. I will move on to my final finished object, and it's something for me, so I shall put it on. And the last thing I have is, oops, I think I have some fuzz in my eye, is the Mindy Sweater Chunky Edition from Sandnes Garn. Okay, okay, this is a favorite for sure. This is a favorite knit of mine. I finished this just a few days ago, a week ago probably, the 29th of September. And I just love this. I just love this. I just love it. It's so bright. Well, actually it's not that bright, but it's so vibrant. And I don't, beside my Cornelia cardigan, this is like my only red garment. Like only solid red garment. And I just love this. This pattern came out this year. This is the Mindy Sweater Chunky Edition from Sandnes Garn 2507 DIY collection. And I knitted this with Tynn pure Gynt held double and Alpakka Folgetrad. This is so soft. Like pure Gynt in itself is kind of rustic, and sometimes I'm not sensitive to pure Gynt by any means, but sometimes when holding it with, since with mohair or something, it might be a little bit extra rustic. But this is so soft with the alpaca. Like it's next to skin soft. Like I don't mind it on my neck. Yeah, I love it. It is a drop shoulder, European shoulder construction where you're doing the short rows, shaping, and increases at the same time. I feel like there's a mistake right there, but anyway, whatever. Then you work down. Then you pick up the front, the shoulders. You knit down. You join, actually, knit down. Join at the underarms, knit all the way down. Do 2x2 rib. I really love the 2x2 rib for fall. It's just so chunky and cozy, and I just love it. And then you do the 2x2 to 1x1 rib. And don't look at that. And then you do the tie and bind off, do the sleeves, and then do the neck. I did a folded neck. I don't think the pattern called for a folded neck, but I like a folded neck, especially with a 2x2 rib. I just love it. Yeah, this is knitted with 5mm, yes, so 5 and 4.5mm needles. So it did knit up very quickly, and I always appreciate that, especially when I did so many 3.5mm projects this year. I'm happy with this. This was like a nice palette cleanser, and it's just a perfect fall going into winter color. I can see myself wearing this at Christmas, and yeah, like I needed a good red sweater in my wardrobe. I just didn't have one. And I mean, aside from the cardigan, but I love this. And I highly recommend Alpakka Folgetrad if you're not sensitive to it. I mean, if you're not sensitive to alpaca, as an alternative for mohair if you find sensitivity. So those are my finished objects that I have for you this year. And we're almost to the end of the year, so I will move into my works in progress. I have 3. I had 4, but I just frogged one yesterday because I was making some mistakes and I wanted to not make mistakes. Anyway, the first thing I have is something I started much earlier this year, and it's kind of in an awkward position, so I'm just gonna hold it up. This is the Matthew sweater. Can you guess the pattern designer? It starts with S. Sandnes Garn. This is a pattern from, I think this came out last year. Cast on this. This is a zipper sweater for men. This is a men's pattern. I will wear this when it's done. I don't care. Be oversized on me, but I don't care. I'm making this for my husband for his birthday. His birthday is in a week. So I better get cracking on this and finish it off quickly. It's a zipper sweater. So it's a somewhat unique construction. I was confused at a few points in knitting this, and my hair is knitted into it, which is a very common occurrence. Anyway, I struggled a little bit with the cast on and the short rows. It just was confusing, but I think I figured it out, and I continued knitting, and then I joined. So you knit the back. Let me just start with the construction. You knit the back. You start with the back. You have to do some kind of odd shaping at where the neck back is. And then you knit down. I felt like my knitting, the short rows, was a little off, but I just kept going because I figured we'll just keep going. Then I picked up the front, and then you do some shaping at the front. You do casting on, just odd numbers of stitches casting on, then working back, and then you start the other side and you do the same thing. Then you join up the armholes, and then you knit down. I ran out of yarn, so I decided to pick up the neck because I was reading the instructions for the neck and I was struggling with that as well. But once I started knitting it up, it started to make sense. I feel like sometimes I need to just reread a pattern a few times, and if I don't get it, I actually just need to pick up the project and start on it, and then it starts to make sense as I'm working through the pattern, if you know what I mean. So it's I find it very cool. So you pick up the stitches for the entire neck. I'm starting on the neckband now, the turtleneck portion, collar, if you will. And you pick up here and you start working back and forth just for a few stitches. And you're doing some shaping using short rows to shape the neck there. Then you break the yarn. It's somewhere here. I broke the yarn here. Yeah, this is where it is. And then you start on the other side and do the exact same thing, doing short rows. So it's not much, you can't tell very much, but it's kind of flush or like even with the back. So I'm only halfway through the short rows here. And then when I reach the maximum number of short rows I'm supposed to do, then I start knitting the entire neck, and then the turtleneck goes all the way up. Then I bind off and I fold it down, and then I pick up the facing for the zipper. So I haven't done a zipper sweater before. It's new to me, and I find this very interesting, and I'm intrigued by it, and I'm interested to see how it turns out, because I was confused at the start, and then once I picked it up and I started working through, then it started to make sense and come together in my mind, and it was easy. It was easier than I thought it would have been. It's definitely made more sense, if that makes sense. So his birthday's next week, so I have to finish this week. So this is going to be my primary focus for the next week or so. And I think I can finish it for sure. It's pure Gynt, Sandnes Garn, pure Gynt, and I am knitting the size extra large, but it's on 4mm needles. Actually, I lie. The sleeves say 3.5mm needles, but I don't think I am going to do that. Actually, it does say 3.5, but then it says change to 3.5 circular needles and do the ribbing. So I think that's an error right there. Okay, I caught that. Okay, so it's 4mm needles, then 3.5. Okay. That shouldn't be too bad. I feel like I can do that. It's pure Gynt, which is like a DK slash worsted weight yarn, in my opinion, with 4mm needles. So I think I can get it done. Like the ribbon, the neck ribbing itself, I think that should fly by once I get all of it done. And that's it for the Matthew sweater. And then my next whip is a sweater dress for my daughter that I started yesterday. And I shouldn't have, because I should have been working on the Matthew. This is, yes, a Sandnes Garn pattern. This is the Sweet Pea Dress Junior from their recent Kids Fall Collection. 2506 Meek Till Barn. And this is a dress knitted with Kos. So it's not the same shade as my Harper cardigan. It is a new shade that they just released, I'm pretty sure, called Monk's Robe. Pretty sure that's what it is. Okay, I have a little bit of gripe, I guess. So this is Kos, which is a blown yarn, if you know what it is. If you know Kos, then it's a blown yarn. And there's fibers of wool and alpaca in the blown. It's a tube, essentially. And then the wool and alpaca fibers are in the tube. But for this, I can see the tube so clearly. And the yarn inside of it just looks so sparse. And it's actually kind of frustrating. Like, it almost looks like it's supposed to be like heathered or something. But it's supposed to be brown. Anyway, I'm not going to let it bother me too much. I understand, you know, sometimes things happen. So it's just a little bit frustrating because I paid money for the yarn. I pay for all of my patterns and I pay for all of my yarn. I digress. I am just a little bit frustrated that the yarn seems lacking in the wool and alpaca. Anyway, if I hold it up, you might be able to see what I'm talking about. But I looked at my other Kos yarns that I have, and I've knitted with a lot of Kos, and none of them actually look this sparse. So it's kind of a little concerning. I don't want to say anything else. I'm just gonna move on. Anyway, I do love this pattern. It is a it's a lace yoke dress. So I'm still on my first ball of yarn, and I've done all the lace repeats for the yoke, and then I am very close to splitting for the sleeves. In fact, I think I was about to split for the sleeves when I decided to work on my husband's sweater. But yeah, this is the middle marker of the back, and then I think I knitted across the back, and I was supposed to start putting stitches on hold, and then I just put it down because I needed to get some barber cords and I forgot or something. But yeah, it's very straightforward, very easy to follow. Just a pretty straightforward generic lace pattern. I feel like I've done this lace design so many times. It's just like a little flower. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. And it's cute. It's very quintessential childhood. I feel like, in my opinion, little knit dresses for little girls. I just love it. And I love knitting for my daughter. She's just fun to knit for. And my final whip is, if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen it. I posted about it a little. My last whip. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen me talk about this a bit on my stories, not directly. I haven't shared on my Instagram feed since the start of the year, which is kind of a shame, but I just needed social media breaks, you know. I needed breaks from content creating. Sometimes we need a break, and that was needed. So I'm back. This is the Brady sweater, B-R-A-D-Y, Brady or Brady, I don't know. I've been pronouncing it Brady. Brady sweater, like the Brady Bunch, I guess, from Sandnes Garn. This was released very recently. It is 2507, their DIY collection. I love their DIY collection patterns. I literally want to make all of them, which is not news to most of you if you've been following me for a while. I want to make all of them. I won't get to making all of them, but I want to. So anyway, this is a all over cable and texture sweater. I am so in love with this. I literally want to finish this and just live in it. It's just so gorgeous. So you start at the back. It is the traditional Sandnes Garn drop shoulder European shoulder construction. You start at the back, you're doing short rows and increases at the same time here while working down in the pattern. This was actually so much fun to knit on. And I didn't find it overly complicated at all. Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was keeping track of what row I was on for the cables. But since I'm knitting flat currently, I think it's fine. I'm not actually losing track because the small cables are done every 4 rows, and then these are every 16 rows. So it's actually pretty easy and straightforward right now. Once I join in around, then I will definitely have to concentrate. This is a user error, no fault of the pattern whatsoever, but when I picked up the stitches for the shoulders, I wasn't really paying attention, and I could have done this side a little bit better and more cohesive with the back. I didn't. I just picked it up and I just cast on and I just knitted straight on and without really paying attention to where I was like knitting my cables and the ribbing and stuff. And then I caught myself and I was like, it's actually okay. It's not that big of a deal. But when I picked up for the other side, I took better care to line up the cables and the rib and other cables and make them kind of more like flowing together. So I'm happy with that one. I'm not necessarily unhappy with the other side, but it's okay. It's not that big of a deal, and it will be fine. So I have since knitted the back and started the fronts and then joined, and I did one cable here, and now I just need to knit on, down, 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 then join here, and then keep on knitting. So I am actually really loving this pattern. It is knitted on 3.5 millimeter needles, which that's not been my jam this year, but I just kind of ended up doing a lot of projects on 3.5, so. And it is knitted with Sunday and Tynn silk mohair, and I actually really love like the fabric that this is creating. It is so squishy and bouncy and soft, and I love it. I really love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm really happy with how this is turning out. So that is what I currently have. I did start another project and I said I frogged it, but I'm actually really excited about it. So once I finish my husband's sweater, this is getting back on my needles. This is the Agnes headscarf, and I got some of their new cashmere yarn, which I feel like Gollum right now. But I got the bright poppy red, I think it's called poppy red, and I'm very excited to knit this. I actually got to like the 3rd lace section, and so it's divided into 2 sides with a middle stitch, and one side was perfect and it looked so good, and then the other side, some of the stitches were just like off by like 2 or 3. Like the lace was just off by 2 or 3 stitches, and I was like, I am not gonna, let's just rip it out and we'll start over when I'm ready to start over. But anyway, I do want to talk about some plans, but I have gone on for an hour and a half almost, so I will try my best to come back soon and talk about some. I don't want to talk about fall plans because I feel like I'm currently in my fall zone. This one, the Brady sweater, my husband's Matthew, the scarf, my daughter's dress, and I have 2 more sweaters I really want to cast on. One for me and a semi-matching one for my son. The Ridge sweater, which is one of Sandnes Garn's newest designs as well. I'll insert a picture and you can see what it looks like. But I have the yarn for that one for myself and for my son, and I just really need to cast on once this pile here is completed, or at least a dent in some of it. But that's it. I hope she wasn't too much of a distraction. She was a distraction to me. But I will say goodbye now, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know it was... Thank you. Goodbye. I know it was a little bit long and a bit much and distracting, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you found some inspiration. I know I can ramble on and on and on, and... Okay, goodbye. Go. And yeah, I hope today's episode was enjoyable, and I hope you found some inspiration, like I said, and I will really try really hard to be back and to try to be consistent. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. I will see you next time, and I wish you happy knitting. Bye.